Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for being on the line with us today. We have a jam-packed 2 hours. We'll have a 55-minute panel to begin with, then a 10-minute break, and then we'll wrap it up with our key spouse panel. My name is Andrea Perkins. I work at Headquarters Air Force, Airman and Family Care Division, and I will be your MC for today. Our theme is PCSing and removing barriers and challenges associated with relocation. Our goal for today is to equip you with information resources that will help you in your relocation so that airmen, guardians, and families can remain mission ready. We know that in general, moving is very stressful. Even more so when you have to every few years for a PCS, and then move your kids, perhaps your career across state or even international lines. In order to address some of those concerns, we have assembled a team of experts in different areas today so that we can give you some relocation resources from across the spectrum. But before we get started, we're honored to have with us today Mrs. Mollie Raymond, spouse to the Chief of Space Operations, General J. Raymond, and Mrs. Sharene Brown, spouse to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General C.Q. Brown. Ms. Raymond, Ms. Brown, I'll turn it over to you to kick us off.
Good morning, Andrea. So good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you to all the spouses, key spouses, and mentors for attending today's session. And special thank you to all those who got up really early. I know I have my coffee here, and it's a great way to start the day. I am so excited about our event, the third session in the virtual Key Spouse Engagement Series. As the summer PCS season starts to rev up, today's theme of relocation and best practices is very timely. If you're like me and you know that a move is on the radar, you're going to start researching where to live, where the kids go to school, where there'll be spouse employment opportunities. If you're moving overseas, will we take our pets? So many questions, but you're not alone in this. And to help, as Andrea said, to help with strategies and resources, we have a great lineup of subject matter experts. And I'd like to give a special thank you to Brigadier General Joel Safranek from U.S. Transcom, which is responsible for overseeing the military process. General Safranek is joined by Tammy Hearn, Gretchen Swinehart, Kelly Childs, and Laurie Phipps, who are all experts with tips and tools for a seamless relocation. This is a great opportunity to ask questions and for you and those you serve alongside. The more you are proactive and learn about the potential challenges of your new location before you go, you'll be better prepared to handle anything that comes up as a surprise on the other end. I personally love the slogan, call the slow before you go. I'm also excited today to meet 3 extraordinary key spouses and mentors who are here to offer ideas on building connections and to share their insight on best practices on how they serve airmen, guardians, and their loved ones. So I'm really excited about today, and let's get it started. And I'd like to pass it over to my very good friend, Sharene Brown.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mollie, for that introduction. And like you, I'm ready to get started as well. I've got my cup of tea, if you will, and welcome to all of our folks who are joining us at various locations around the world. Thank you for getting up, or thank you for staying up late so that you could join us. Well, happy spring, everyone. It's been a while and we have missed you. Since September 2021 was our last engagement, and much has happened in that span of time. You know, in some of our areas, we are able to gather in person, and some places are beginning to lift mask restrictions, and we are able to gather in person, which means celebrations are likely to happen, like graduations and weddings and birthdays. And speaking of birthdays, did you know that this year the Air Force celebrates its 75th anniversary or 75th birthday? So look for celebrations in your area leading up to the milestone for this major milestone in our Air Force. Well, to all of us who are here, thank you for taking the time to be a part of this session. I continue to marvel at what the technology has in store for us, and I'm curious to see where we'll be and how we'll be meeting in the future. The opportunity for us to meet virtually is amazing. Well, will we be meeting as a hologram in the days to come, like that of Star Trek, or maybe in the metaverse as an avatar, like in the movie Avatar? Who knows? But this is what I do know. Our AFPC team has been working diligently behind the scenes to bring you this Key Spouse Series engagement number 3. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our folks who have been a part of this. So Miss Andrea Perkins, thank you for being our host today, along with some of your other teammates, Lieutenant Colonel Ada Smith, Randy Ramsharon, Cresta Thomas, Teresa Galvin, Ellie Bogan, all right, I hope I don't say this too incorrectly, Ellie Bogensberger, and Aaron Collier. And last but not least, let's not forget Mr. Kevin Huve, who led the team overall. We are extremely grateful for your time and attention and work done to make this event come to life. So March 20th marks the first day of spring in this year. And for many in our military community, this means PCS season is here. Mrs. Raymond and I have heard a few stories shared over the last couple of PCS seasons of the pandemic's effect with moves to location both in the U.S. and abroad. The transportation, our household goods, housing both on and off base, the schools, and adjusting to a new community. For many of us involved, it's been very trying. But the good news is our DoD and DAF agencies have heard your stories as well and found ways to make your moves smoother. They have changed how they do business in light of the current environment and what they will be talking to, and some of them will be talking to us today. But this means we have to do our part as well as we continue to move forward on this new adventure. Doing your homework to understand and be prepared for what the new installation holds. For example, while mask restrictions may be lowered in our current location, different rules may be in place for where you're going. Figure out those circumstances now before you go. Educating your children and the potential new jobs along with housing are always a concern for our inbound members and families. Our panelists today will have much to share with you about what to consider. And speaking of our panelists, we'd like to be able to say thank you to those who will be here with us today, to Brigadier General Saranac from U.S. Transportation, Ms. Tammy Hearn of EFMP, Ms. Laurie Phipps of the School Liaisons, Ms. Gretchen Swinehart with Housing, and then Ms. Laureen Kelly Chicos with AFRC. Thank you all for being here today, and we look forward to your presentations. And then following our expert panel, we will have a most anticipated session with rock stars from your own Key Spouse community. Here to share with us how their actions and toolkits are making a difference amongst our airmen and guardians and families will be Ms. Patrina LeBlanc from the 375th Civil Engineering Squadron at Scott Air Force Base, and Ms. Amy Beck from Delta 4, Detachment 1 at Buckley Space Force Base in Colorado, and then Ms. Tricia Newman from the 4th Special Operations Squadron at Hurlburt Field in Florida. I, along with all of our audience, is excited to hear what you have in store for us so that we can be successful at our next location. So whether it's your first time or your umpteenth time like me, each PCS move can be a little different. The knowledge and experience we offer to one another is always helpful. For that reason, you may have noticed that we've opened up this forum to our military spouses as well. Welcome, and we are glad you are able to join us. We hope that this topic will be informative for you and will bring awareness to our various military agencies, as well as identify what key spouses are doing to make your transition smoother. We want to provide our military families with the best opportunities to thrive. So with that, I say, let's get ready, set, relocate. Back to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Raymond and Mrs. Brown, for those comments and for really the leadership that you provide to make these connections happen with our military spouses. We appreciate that, and we know that it ultimately increases the resiliency of military families. So we appreciate you. Thank you for doing this. Our first panelist for this session serves as the director of the Defense Property Management Office, Brigadier General Safranek. His office advocates for military families in the relocation process and has exciting news about an upcoming change that will make the PCS process a little bit easier in the future. Brigadier General Safranek, over to you.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're at. If I can just get acknowledgement you guys can hear me. All right, perfect. Hey, I'm going to show a few slides with a whole lot of words. So I thought I'd start off my first slide with just one simple word. We've looked at the relocation process for moving, and long story short, there's really one foundational problem, and that's that the entire system is fragmented into thousands of different pieces. And I'll walk you through that in the next slide, please. So if you walk away from kind of looking at the problem and understanding it and only remember one thing, remember that word fragmented. I'll start in the beginning of this slide. If you look at just the household goods moving section, we do about 325,000 moves a year. We work through about 950 different household good companies and almost 1,800 storage providers. There's a what they call a tender of service versus a formal contract with each of them. And long story short, trying to keep all those different entities to some sort of a standard and accountability is extremely difficult. So what we're looking at doing is switching over to a global household goods contract where it'll be done through one major company that then helps organize all those separate pieces in order to bring that entity down to one versus literally thousands. If you look at the storage side of the house in the bottom center of that screen, non-temporary storage for those that go overseas and put things in long-term storage, there's about 60,000 lots in storage at almost 1,200 facilities with almost 900 different providers. Just trying to inspect those facilities is a task in itself. We've got about a half a dozen folks that are charged with doing annual inspections, and you can do the math and figure out how difficult that is. So in order to try to do the inspections last year, we got the help from the services to look at them, and we were able to look at about 91% of those facilities. And just to be frank and honest with you, it was actually worse than we expected. We put about 2 dozen providers in immediate non-use based on some of the conditions that we found. And then even the DoD, to be honest with you, there's 42 different shipping offices with about 250 different installation level processing offices. Even when you look at physically moving, that's done through the logistics side of the house. When you look at your orders for moving, that's done through the personnel side of the house. When you look at doing a claim for moving, that's done through the legal side of the house. So you can see even amongst the military, we're a little fragmented on our own. The one highlight really is our privately owned vehicles moving. We move about 68,000 vehicles and store just under 8,000 vehicles. It's done through one single move manager. And we see in our satisfaction rates, we see in our on-time deliveries, we see in almost every metric we measure that the privately owned vehicle contract, in just plain language, crushes what we get on the household goods side of the house. So what we're working to do, if you can go next slide, please, is move towards that global household goods contract. And that global household goods contract really gets after trying to defragment, to go from those 900 plus what we call TSPs, transportation service providers, to that one single entity. That way, when it comes down to responsibility and accountability, it's one person versus kind of playing whack-a-mole. At the same time, it's a little unfair on certain industry members. There's not enough stability in the system for them to make the proper investments and forecasting, because there's no guarantee on what business they're going to get in the future. Whereas if you put it towards one entity, they know that 325,000 moves a year come to them. It allows them to forecast, it allows them to model, it allows them to make investments in the overall kind of infrastructure and the enterprise itself. We're really hoping, once again, with that single move manager, that it's synchronized under one activity. They can make those investments even in things like technology. I mean, quite frankly, the moving industry is using 1970s technology with a lot of paper and pen. But to move to things like electronic inventories, anybody that orders an Uber knows exactly where their Uber's at, But anybody that's dealt with a mover, you call them up, say, hey, you guys coming this morning? Oh, they'll be there in 15 minutes. 2 hours later, you're still waiting for them. Some of this modern technology will be very much like Uber, where you'll be able to see where is your driver, how far away are they, when are they estimated to get there. You can keep track of your shipment as it moves across the country. Similar things that we see in the POV side of the house that we don't see currently in the household goods side of the house. Even on some of the improvements that families can expect to see is that enhanced communication. Once again, having visibility on where your movement's at. As of now, each of the TSPs is required to have some sort of call center, but it's only open Monday through Friday during business hours. And then during the peak season, which is the summer, it's open on Saturday, but once again, during business hours. When you're dealing with global movements, when you're dealing with people moving from Japan to the United States, which business hours are there? So in the future, it'll be 24-hour support 7 days a week. They'll have enough staff that it's required to have no more than a 10-minute wait time. I already talked about that modern digital equipment in order to know where is my shipment, where are the movers, and then we're hoping to simplify the claims process as well. In that contract is written some requirements that benefits the company to close out those claims on a much quicker, sooner timeline than some of the process that they're able to do today by kind of dragging things out. All right, now that's all kind of the good news of the cavalry's on the way and what's coming. The bad news is we'd hoped to have this in place, and the contract was online to be in place by the summer of 2023. It just recently, about a week or two ago, got put under protest by some of the companies that did not win the bid, and we don't have an exact timeline on that, but it will most likely push it until the summer of 2024. So it's about 2 years off before it'll become a reality. Now, if you can go next slide, please. Then the question becomes, okay, great, but what about now? What about the next 2 years? That's when I'm the key spouse. What resources do I have available to me today? I don't know if it's just, if you can go next slide, please. So what I'd say first is to focus on the left side of the screen. Really, it's your local assistance that's going to be the quickest, the fastest, the easiest, the most geared towards what you need. And one of the first places that you can assist spouses is going to that transportation support or service provider, that TSP. They are, even though it's business hours, they're supposed to have a customer service support. And then once again, they extend it on peak season onto Saturdays as well. If for some reason you can't get it out of that contracted TSP that's supposed to do your move, then you've got the traffic management office. It's either located in the LRS or the aerial port squadron, and they've got counselors, they got customer service reps, they've got quality assurance inspectors that come out and look at movements to make certain that they're following the rules the way they're supposed to. Once again, because it is a little fragmented, it may be something more than just the moving experience. So you've got that installation support. If you've got legal questions, by all means, go to the legal office. If you've got some money or financial questions, go to the finance office. If it deals with your orders and trying to get things lined up, but not necessarily the moving of household goods, then go to your military personnel flight, and they can help walk you through the different processes. If all of that fails, really your unit leadership. And I've got first sergeant and squadron commander down. Not all organizations are quite aligned that way, so a more generic term there may just be that chain of command. It's that chain of command that should be working with the key spouses directly. And so as different families have different issues, if you get the help you need, awesome. If you don't, by all means, the first sergeant, the unit commander, some sort of organization's leadership will be able to help you walk through those particular issues. One of the biggest issues becomes, hey, I need to change my report no later than date for a particular reason. Maybe the household goods aren't lining up or something comes up. And I've done that twice in my career with my 13 moves. I'll tell you, it's relatively simple in the sense that they will ask your losing leadership, are you okay with the new date? And they'll ask the gaining leadership, are you okay with the new date? And if the unit that is losing you and the unit that's gaining you are okay with it, 99.9% of the time it'll happen with no issues, because the system's agnostic. They just want to make certain the two units agree to whatever the dates are. Now there's some broader assistance available to you. We really push the military one source, whether it's education, whether it's job assignments, or even moving information. All the information that should deal with your relocation needs is consolidated on that military one source website. Once again, we've talked about the military claims office. if on the back end of this, if people are having problems fighting with their transportation service provider on a particular claim, by all means, duke it out with them for as long as you feel comfortable. But when you get to a point where you just agree to disagree, the military has a claims office. They're agnostic. They just look at the facts. Was it broken? What did it look like before it left? What is it valued at? Can you prove it? And then they'll make a determination, and the TSP has to go with that determination. We've also got online today Colonel Craig Punches, who's the Air Force lead for the personal property. And there are joint personal property shipment offices, personal property shipment offices, which are kind of like regional offices that work with those traffic management offices at kind of the rubber meeting the road and making things happen. And by all means, he can kind of help you on a much larger scale if you can't get things done locally. And then we have at Transcom and with the services of what we call the Personal Property Relocation Assistance Panel. And it's really an information sharing forum. And we have a Air Force spouse, Miss Ellie Bogensberger, that is the Air Force PCS family advocate. And by all means, these spouses, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, they are not shy in letting us know what is going right or going wrong with the system. So I've got her email down there in the bottom right-hand corner as well. And I would feel free to pass information to her that you want brought up on kind of how the system needs to change or fixes that need to be in place. And with that, I'll pause if there's any questions in particular.
All right. Thank you, sir. I think that there have been several questions in the chat that have been answered. So appreciate you. If you do have any questions as attendees, please feel free to keep them coming. If you think of something as we go on, we'll make sure every question gets answered. Even if it's not today, we'll follow up after this engagement. So thank you so much, Brigadier General Safranek. We appreciate you for all of this information. Our next panelist is the Chief of the Exceptional Assignment Programs Division, Ms. Tammy Hearn, who will talk with us about EFMP travel screening today. Over to you, Ms. Hearn.
Good morning, everyone. So glad to be with you this morning. Certainly, relocation provides just an opportunity for stress, right? Relocating is difficult at best. We work so hard to move our families and get that reestablishment. Certainly one of the things that comes into play when relocating is if you have an exceptional family member. Traveling, moving, all of those things certainly come with a very long to-do list. And, when you add an exceptional family member to that move, right, now that list has gotten just a little bit longer. So what we have really been focused on in the past, I would say almost 2 years now, is really looking at different ways to help release the burden, the administrative burden on our families, and work to an easier, faster, better way to get our families approved for travel to the location that they're going to. That certainly is a huge one. The list is long. So let's take a look and let's see what we've been able to do and kind of what's to come. So next slide, please. First and foremost, Exceptional Family Member Program, we support about 33,000 active duty air and space families, over 50,000 dependents. So about 7,000 moves a year impact exceptional family members. So again, trying to make that PCS a little bit easier is certainly a big focus of ours. It's a very large number of families. Being EFMP, a lot of folks believe that this is a program for those with special needs. What I like to always explain is that this is a program for families who receive specialized needs, right? Specialized needs, whether they are medical or educational, that is what we're looking for to identify. Again, so we can make sure that when the Air Force asks that family to relocate to a new location, that the services they need are available. One of the ways we actually look for folks to be in EFMP is through the family member travel screening process. When a family gets an assignment, They are going to be asked to do just a few things to make sure that we can get that access to care at the gaining location. EFMP is congressionally mandated. It's not something that our families can opt in or out of. Basically, if your family is receiving a specialized service, then they can be identified as EFMP. Let's go to the next slide and I'll show you real quick just the things that could possibly have a family enrolled in EFMP. And if you'll look here, if you have a dependent who's receiving specialized care and seeing a specialist more than once a year, then certainly we want to assess if you should be EFMP. If anyone in your family is diagnosed with asthma, we absolutely want to assess that as well. Any hospitalizations, anyone in your family using a medical assistive device. And then finally, on the education side, if you have a child that has services through an individual education plan or may have developmental delays, and there's some early intervention that the pediatrician is doing to help get that child to the next milestones, then certainly these are the types of things that we are looking for. Next slide. So EFMP transformation. So what has been gone over these last 2 years? I will tell you how we learned that the family member travel screening process was ineffective was actually through EFMP transformation. Over the last 2 years, we've met with many families across the globe, getting feedback and truly looking at the process within and learning what we weren't doing right. Our families were very, very honest with us and said, hey, a lot of people may be working hard and you may have a lot of programs out here, but they're fragmented. They are not joined. I have several different folks who are doing things. I don't know who to go to. I don't know who's in charge. I kind of get this, well, it's family support. No, it's assignments. No, it's medical. So we took all of that feedback and said, you know what, let's sit down and talk through what this process looks like. And what we found was that 90% of the burden to get family member travel screening done, complete, and approved was on the family. We asked our families to take the children out of school and come do a PCS interview. We asked our families to make an appointment with their specialist and get a current summary of care. And oh, by the way, can you grab those medical records from your doc and get those loaded up into the medical system? So we gave you this long, long list of things to do. And in today's world, truly, electronic medical records are there and available when our physicians need to see if care is available at the gaining location. We're able to see TRICARE claims and things of those sorts. So certainly the resources are there for our physicians to make those decisions. And certainly we don't need our families to run around town and have those tasks and do those things in order to prepare. So basically what we've really done is tried to take most of that burden from our families and bring it into the Department of Air Force and have us do that part. Had we not done this EFMP transformation, I'm not sure that that would have come to light. So again, we're very, very glad that that was a big part of what our families talked to us about, because that became one of our top priorities. There were two things that we done early. One was to set up the central cell here at the Personnel Center, which I have the great honor to lead. But putting everyone together under one leader and one umbrella was super important. It now allows the A1 community and the SG community to certainly ask and get things done together. So versus two stovepipes with General Kelly and General Hogg, the two leaders of the A1, the HR, human resource side, and the Surgeon General side, having them now work together under one umbrella under A1 means that now both of those entities can work together to make decisions. One of the best things we have seen over the course of these past 18 months is the marriage. I call it the marriage of HR and the Surgeon General has really allowed us to work issues from both sides. How is it impacting our personnel? And then how can we have medical assist as well? We did release a new automated travel screening process last August. Certainly we had some bugs. We had a lot of families wait all spring and summer to submit their applications once that became available. We don't blame anyone for doing that. Truly, it is a much simpler, easier, faster process. Again, we took on a lot of that burden. Now, getting answers, we're slow to need there, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. We also had put together the Family Vector website, so hopefully most of you have seen that. If you have not, at the end, I certainly have that available. And then one really big focus area that was talked about, especially in congressional testimony in late 2019, was the lack of special education legal services within the departments. So across all services, the Marines were the only service that actually provided that special education legal support in-house. So certainly a way, or it became known very quickly that all the other branches of services could learn from the Marines, provide that service in-house, giving our families this level of expertise and this help. And because prior it was, we sent you into the community, right? And the community, certainly many communities have great special education resources. But what our families told us is we would like that service from within the Air Force. Let our legal teams help us. They know our families, they know our mission. So certainly having and building that expertise within the Air Force is a high priority. Next slide. So the family member travel screening, can you go ahead and go to the next slide? I'll tell you, anyone who is traveling overseas, right, you're going to walk through this process. DOD mandates that any family going overseas, we must look at all of the dependents to determine if there are any specialized needs. And if there are, then look to see if they should be EFMP. But most importantly, right, to see if those same specialized that same specialized care is available at the gaining location. It, on the surface, yep, a long process, but I will tell you, it starts with the family. It starts with that assignment flowing. Once the sponsor receives that assignment, the commander has 7 days to make that notification, and 1 week later, the family member travel screening process starts. This allows things to be done very early. So like that, the process will normally take about 4 to 6 weeks. There's plenty of time still to your RNLTD to get everything done that needs to get done. One of the greatest things about the new automation and the centralized family member travel screening is that the family can now fill out their applications together. No CAC required, no more paper forms, no more filling out your name and social 325 times as you filled out every single form. So just another great benefit to actually automating this. So the family will fill out that family member travel screening, giving us answers to some basic questions. It's TurboTax style, so there's no blocks, there's no tabbing. It is truly questions and answers. And then in the background, the system is building those forms for us and for our physicians as they adjudicate your cases. There is a fast track process that allows for less complex cases to move a little bit faster. I will tell you that if you're going overseas and maybe you see the PCM once a year and the children see the pediatrician once a year and there are no specialized needs, those applications absolutely will move much faster through the process, leaving the more complex cases for our physicians to review to ensure that care is available. What happens when travel gets denied? I will tell you, there about 10% of the time, we do have disapprovals where the family services are not available at the gaining location. And that's when our assignment navigators here at the Personnel Center reach out to the family and walk them through to either matching to an assignment where care is absolutely available, or maybe we cancel the assignment and sit and wait for the next assignment cycle, right? So each family dynamic is going to be different, but our assignment navigators reach out to a family that's not approved for travel within 48 hours and establishes that initial meeting in order to talk about all the different options. Of course, anytime a family gets a travel not approved and care is not available, there is an opportunity for a reconsideration. Maybe there's something we didn't have. Maybe there's additional information that the sponsor and the family can provide to us to see if, in fact, we can change that to an approval. But should reconsideration stand and care is deemed not available, then the assignment navigator will walk through those other options. Next slide. So let's wrap up the benefits of the centralized FMTS process. Again, lots of great, yes.
Thank you. There's a bunch of questions in the chat. I know to all of the panelists or all of the people on the line, there's a bunch of slides on EFMP. We won't get a chance to cover them all today just for time's sake, but sure. You can see, yes, ma'am. You can see that there has been amazing strides to streamline the EFMP process and screening process. And I think that's been done because of feedback, right?
That's right, Andrea. You hit it on the mark. Our families have really propelled this change. And so I'll end with this slide and then I'll get off the stage and we'll answer everything in chat, Andrea. But truly, this is just a compilation of the great things that we were able to do on the front end. Again, taking that burden off of families. I know there was a comment in the chat that I saw that came through that said, you know, on the back end, my decision is slow to get here. You're right. There are 1,000 applications that we are working through. We've put together 2-part orders. Again, we'll explain that in the chat, where now our families can actually get part 1 of their orders, do all of their scheduling for TMO, do passport and visa appointments. And then once your family member travel screening comes back approved, you're going to get part 2, an amendment that says it's approved, and then you're off and running. So truly some great strides in this area. We look forward to answering your questions in the chat and look forward to any future opportunities to speak with our spouses. You're just a great source of information, a great light to our families. So thank you for your feedback. We do have an update, a full update on Facebook tomorrow. So anyone who would like to get a full update of where we are tomorrow, 0900 Eastern Standard Time, Becky, or Central Standard Time. We'll put it in the chat. That way you all can have an opportunity to chime in. Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Hernan, for all of the effort that you put into really making this process easier for EFMP families. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Our next panelist is Ms. Laurie Phipps, who serves as the director of the DAF School Liaison program, and will tell us about how SLOs can help, particularly when you are relocating. So Ms. Phipps, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our program services over 770K military connected students every year. So we, PCSing is a major part of our lives. You've got orders, so now what? Where do you start? What schools are available? What classes, clubs, extracurriculars are available for your kids? What education options will work best for them? Your pre-K through dependent education transfer is a critical part of your student's sense of normalcy and acclimating into their new community. So our school liaisons are there to help you with resources and information to help find the answers and the best fit for your students. When those orders drop, we know, hey, change of housing, school, teachers, friends, address, weather, scenery, all of those feelings, all of those things surface for our families as well as our students. And it does make an impact for our students. So what is the new norm? That is one of the most unanswered questions, right? That we're always anticipating. So let those things sink in for a minute. It's a lot of change that we ask our military connected students to endure. And every 2 to 4 years, we know as adults that adventure awaits them, right? We know the good always will outweigh the bad. But think about that for that young tween, the newly minted 6-year-old, the high school junior who's being recruited. Perspective is an elusive concept. So let's look at our 13 PCS tools and tips geared toward your relocation that can help provide your student a smooth takeoff and a soft landing. Start as soon as orders drop. Research, research, research. You know your student. Once you know where you're headed, reach out to your school liaison and start that process. Education is different from state to state and country to country. So shop for your school like you would shop for a car. Take tours, ask questions, and again, research, research, research. Leave no stone unturned. Identify what are your must-haves. All schools are not created equal. Ask your student, what is a deal breaker? What do they want in a new school? What do you as a parent expect with the new school? What services, sports, activities does your student have to have? A school liaison can't recommend one over the other, but if you provide the must-haves, they can help you limit your search and help set realistic expectations as to what's in your new community. Find the best fit for your student. Focus on your child's needs. More structure, less structure, large school, small school, challenging academics, English as a second language program, special education requirements. What is your child's learning style? Is the location of the school important? Is it within walking distance? Is there available after school care? All of these things are critical pieces that help formulate what is that best fit for your school, for your student. What is the curriculum like? Is there strong core programs? Is there STEM? Do they have AP or IB or gifted programs? How does the school approach learning? What does their school report card look like? The State Department of Education websites are required to post information, and it's the best to use those to compare to schools since education is different across state lines. Does the school have strong academic performance? Do they teach citizenship and character? What is their behavior policy? Consider safety, special offerings, and facilities and services. Is there a mission or application deadlines? Wow, just so much to consider, right? For what's in that best fit for your students. Purple Star School is a new state initiative that provides school recognition for being military friendly. Each state chooses its requirements for obtaining those Purple Star School status, but parents should not use this as a deciding factor for school choice. Again, do your research. Look for the culture in the school. Do they have a relationship with the school liaison and the base community? What does their school-based transition programming look like? How do they really support military-connected students? Having an event to celebrate Veterans Day is great, but it doesn't show military-connected culture. So again, take that and look at it and because they're very different from state to state. Inquire about state laws and policies. Awareness of federal and state education laws and local policies can help you as a parent advocate for educational excellence for all students, not just your own. Is there an accelerated withdrawal date available? What is the required number of instructional days? How many days can my student miss during the transfer? All of those are questions regularly that a school liaison receives and is able to help you navigate the system at your new school. Education learning models. When did the gaining school start? Are they a hybrid? Do they operate on an AB schedule or regular? Do they have the ability to pivot to online learning? All of these things will play important roles when you walk in to register your student for their transfer credits, for their assimilation into that school. So again, those are critical opportunities to ask those important questions to the counselors and to the registrars. Learn and make yourself familiar about the Interstate Compact for the Education of Military Children. It was created to mitigate the impact that changing schools has on our families. There are 4 main articles for the compact: educational records and enrollment, placement and attendance, eligibility, and graduation. There's a process in place for families to seek assistance if the school is not following and honoring the compact. The local school liaison is the starting point. The compact is the minimum a school can do, and often relationships drive the school to extend beyond basic compliance with the compact. If you're a homeschool family, making sure that you understand homeschool laws and opportunities, because they differ from state to state as well. It's important to know if your new duty location requires you to register, what the state required curriculum is. Are there homeschool groups or co-ops available to you? The 3 basic categories for homeschooling laws are homeschool education laws, private school laws, and equivalency laws. What does this look like at your gaining state? Are your homeschool students allowed to participate in activities, classes in the public school system? What testing does the public school have to do for you? JROTC is mandated by the NDAA. So again, work with your local school liaison for specific information regarding your gaining installation. So some of the common transition issues and national trends. Did you know that the school liaisons are responsible for tracking and analyzing trends for installation commanders? This drives command teams' engagement in the local community to help drive change in K through 12 education. Current trends being tracked are military student identifier not being fully enacted in the state, advanced placement courses, middle school credits not being accepted for high school credit, dual credit course transfers, early college high school transfer reciprocity, pre-K eligibility and availability, school choice or attendance policies, magnet school lottery deadlines, state immunization guidelines, housing shortages within good school districts, and basic food insecurities. So again, making sure that you're finding out what is happening at the installation. You may call the local school liaison or your gaining school liaison, and they may say, hey, we are having a housing shortage right now on base if you're looking to come on base, but here's some other options for you at that time. What does their school-based transition and social emotional support program look like? Is it peer-to-peer transition program, a transition center, school-based programming that is designed to help make the landing a little smoother for our students? You may know some of these programs by the name of ambassadors, transition centers, student to student, and Anchored for Life, and the School Embedded Military Family Life Counseling, or MFLAC program. The Department of the Air Force is investing in these programs in schools worldwide as a support system for our students to help with these transitions and other facets of being in a military family. Maintaining connection with losing and gaining slow, making sure that you connect with not only your gaining and your losing school liaison, because they will help you and the new school quickly navigate any challenges. We had a school liaison who was working on a humanitarian assignment 2 years ago that allowed the student to take the end of course exams proctored at her new school. Case closed, right? No. That student PCS'd again, and their new school wasn't going to accept the credit for that proctored exam. The parent contacted the school liaison, and together they worked it again to ensure that she would graduate on time, and the school accepted those credits. So you never know, making sure you maintain those contacts. Youth sponsorship. It is a critical component that incoming youth have at any installation, have access to those positive peer groups and pro-social emotional activities. Youth need to get connected to their community and have opportunities to bond with positive peers and adults, even before arriving at the installation. This opportunity is provided through school-based sponsored transition programs or an installation youth sponsorship program through youth programs. So again, reach out to your school liaison. They'll be able to make those connections. Resources. There is an abundance of resources out there to help with this transition, from books about moving to classes such as Smooth Move, PCSing with Military Connected Youth, military installations website, and Military One Source. Your school liaison can provide you a checklist for your dependent education transfer, resources in the local area, individualized information that is tailored to your specific family needs. Above all, reality is this. You have 240 plus joint service school liaisons around the world that are waiting to help you and your families with transition. They're more than just transition. They are your resource for all pre-K through 12 education needs. No matter where you end up, there's a school liaison that will assist you regardless of the branch of service. By scanning the QR code on the slide, you will have access to school liaisons around the world. If you look at the back of your orders, you will find my name and contact information. That's how serious the Department of the Air Force is about providing support to you and your families as you transition your dependents. If you're having issues or concerns that you need to talk to someone and you cannot reach your local school liaison, please do not hesitate to utilize my contact information. I can connect you with my joint service partners if needed to ensure that we address your concerns. We are currently looking for success stories regarding MIC3 and school liaisons. So if you want to share your story to help others, please reach out for more information. We hope that you join us as we get ready to turn the world purple in April for the month of the military child. So reach out to your school liaison to find out what is happening in your local community. Connect with us on social media. We have the DAF School Liaison Program Facebook and Twitter. But most importantly, Ms. Mollie said it in the beginning, before you go, contact your SLO.
That is a great tagline. Thank you so much, Ms. Phipps. I saw in the chat box that people were saying that it was a great ideas that you were giving them to think about when they're transferring school. So really appreciate that. And as a reminder to our attendees, comments in the chat are awesome. If you have questions though, if you would put them in the Q&A just to make sure that we don't miss anything. So thank you for all of that information. You can tell that we're trying to jam pack a bunch of stuff in here. I think that Ms. Phipps wins the award for giving you a ton of information in the shortest amount of time. So we appreciate that. With that, we'll go into our next panelist. This is Miss Gretchen Swinehart. She serves as the Chief of the Air Force Housing Management. And today she'll show us how to use a useful tool called HEAT that will be very helpful during a PCS process. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the panel. As she said, I'm going to walk you through the Housing Early Assistance tool, which will connect you to the Military Housing Office at your next location to get some good information on housing. So on the next slide, you will see where you need to go to access the site. There's a housing website. I've listed it there. There's a lot of good information on there for you in general, and also the link to the HEAT site. So when you see the HEAT site, you just click that little logo there and it will take you to the HEAT entry page. Standard consent notices here. You just need to read those and click the accept button. And then that will move you into, on the next slide, the welcome page. So on the welcome page, you'll see there's a top menu there. That menu will follow you through the next step as well. But if you click on the types of housing, it will give you the definition of the different kinds of housing that might be available at your location that you can ask for information on. And then there's also an more info tool that'll provide some links as well. So on the welcome page itself, it's pretty simple. You're just going to fill out your current branch of service and your current base from the drop-down menus. Please note they haven't yet updated the Space Force for the branch of service or the base name. So you'll still need to pick Air Force and look at the old names for the bases. And then you'll also pick your projected branch of service and your projected base that you'll be going to. Once you do that, you just click the continue button and that will take you to the next page. Here you're going to have some options listed. Now it's going to depend on where you're going. If you're going overseas, you will see options for military housing office operated government housing. This example was for a CONUS base. So it's going to ask you, the first two options you have are if you'd like to apply for privatized housing on base. One is if you have your orders. Option two is if you do not. Or if you would like to look at housing in the local community, you would pick option 3, and you're going to choose within that option if you just want housing off base until you can get on base, or if you just want to live full-time in the local community. And then option 4 is, you just want some general information, or you want the housing office to call you, and then you check one of those. Like I said, it's different based on where you said you were going and the type of housing that is available at that location. And then you'll just click continue, and that'll take us into the next slide. So this slide is important. This is where you're going to input the information so that the military housing office can contact you with the information you requested. So you're going to input the sponsor's last name and the DoD ID number, which is located on the back of the ID card. And you're also going to put a good contact number and email. That's really important. Because that is how the military housing office is going to reach out to you. And then you need to, type the little funky numbers in and prove you're not a robot and click accept. Then it's going to give you a confirmation that your request was submitted. It's also going to give you some good contact info for the military housing office at that location that you're going to. So if you don't want to wait for a response, you can reach out to them. If for some reason you do get an error message, that does happen sometimes, it's typically because the DoD ID number was incorrect, or there's an issue with it communicating with DEERS. So if that happens, it is going to pop up a message and direct you to contact the military housing office at your current location to have them give you the contact information for your MHO at your projected location. And then once you do that, the military housing office will get something through their information technology system with your request and the details, and they will reach out to you and provide you the information, and probably more information than you want. But they are your housing experts. If you have questions about the local area, where's a good place to live, that's a very valuable resource for you. I encourage you to reach out to them. If for some reason you didn't hear back from them, the information on the confirmation page gave you their phone number and email, so you can reach out to them that way. You can do this any time of day, night, so it's convenient for busy families. Just know that the military housing offices typically are only manned Monday through Friday, so that's when your response is likely to come through. It's a helpful tool, and I encourage you to use it. And that's all I've got.
Thank you so much, Ms. Swinehart. What was the address again, the email address to get to this tool?
You go to the Air Force Housing website on the top page, so it's housing.af.mil.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I saw that question in the Q&A, so we'll copy and paste that link into the question and answer for everybody too, so they have it written as well. Thank you so much for sharing this useful tool with us, ma'am. I think it's great to see that things are going automated. So this is very helpful, and we appreciate you being on the line today. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Miss Kelly Childs, who is the director of the Airman and Family Readiness Center at Eglin Air Force Base, to speak on all the fantastic relocation resources that are available through your friendly ANFRC. Miss Childs, over to you.
Good morning. As she said, I'm Kelly Childs. I'm the flight chief here at Eglin Air Force Base, and we are definitely a destination that a lot of people want to PCS to. So I'm really happy to be able to talk to you about this topic today. And I want to thank all of you for supporting our airmen and guardians and families. Next slide, please. So the Relocation Assistance Program, I hope this is something that is familiar to all of you, but if not, maybe there's some things that I can teach you about today. So the Relocation Assistance Program is open to all of our DoD ID card holders. And the goal is to provide inbound service members and their families with the information they need to make informed decisions. And those decisions are going to be really unique to your individual family situation and where you're at within your career and where your family is at with their move as well. So our job is to make sure that all the information that you research and find is up to date and accurate. Moving disrupts so many different things. Housing is a huge problem right now. Spouse employment, making sure that families are able to keep their income going while they're going through their military life. Their schools for their children, childcare needs. I know in our area, childcare is at a premium. It's really hard to find quality childcare and to get those childcare positions. And then also just what services are going to be available from base to base. You may be at a large base and then moving on to a smaller base, or you may go to a joint base. And so understanding all of those services, understanding what they call the different services at the bases that you might be going to is a really important thing to understand and research. So our job is to help you navigate all of these things. Some of the bases have different programs available, but they are going to all provide you information on newcomers and sponsorship, Plan My Move. Back in the olden days, some of you may remember going to your airman and family and checking out a VHS tape. Well, we don't do that anymore. Now everything is online, and we update it every single quarter to make sure that the phone numbers are correct and you're getting the latest, greatest information. So when you get to the base, there's no surprises for you. And there's so many different things. We have a lot of families that are moving with pets, families that are moving with exceptional family members. And families just who have a lot of questions, and the key spouse can really play a very important role with that. Next, please. So sponsorship, a lot of spouses like to hear from spouses about the base. The member gets information from their organization that they're going to be gained to, but they may not have some of the same questions that you may have as a spouse. So we really encourage you as a key spouse to go through the sponsorship program because you may be asked at some point for information about the local area. You may be asked about welcome packages, and our center has all of these things at your fingertips. So it's not something that you're going to have to create new. It's something that we can help you with and help you to get that information to the families. Everything is available in different formats. We have things in the digital format so we can get it to people easily by posting things online or by emailing them. But we also have a lot of hard copy flyers and things like that if people are more comfortable with that. One of the things that we can help you with is customizing your key spouse welcome letter. So if one of the things that you're doing in your program is sending a welcome letter to all of the new families and spouses and tell them about what the squadron is doing, that's something that we can definitely help you with. And the information that we can provide you is everything from employment to information about the communities and connecting you with different people that might be able to help make your move and transition a little bit better. Next, please. So Military OneSource. If you have not been out to Military OneSource, I really do encourage you to go out there. That is where the e-sponsorship training course is, but there's a ton of information as well. And it's something that you do not have to have a CAT card to do. So go out and take that sponsorship training yourself, and you can see what are some of the things that people are going to possibly ask you about coming to their new base. And like I said, everything is already completed for you. So it will help you to navigate all of the different resources a little bit better. So the family members, when they do help with sponsorship, it is an informal role, and it's something that they'll do voluntarily. So it's not something you're necessarily going to be tasked with, but like I said, a lot of families would prefer to talk to the spouse, the key spouse, rather than relying solely on their member to give them information. The members' questions are probably a little bit more about the job and making sure that they're integrated well, when the spouse may have some different concerns, maybe about their own job and where their fit is going to be when they move to their new community. And if you do not like the virtual resources, we're always available to talk to you one-on-one. So this is pictures of some of our great staff at Scott Air Force Base. I love these pictures because actually one of the people on there has actually PCS'd here to us at Eglin. So it is a very small Air Force world. These are CRCs, and as you can see, they all have different job titles, and they're here to help support you and your families. I really encourage that you reach out to the Gaining Airman and Family Readiness Center or Military Family Center to receive information about the base. And if there's anything unique or special, those things should also be on Military OneSource, but let them know that they're coming, and they can tell you about all the unique things that are going on in their community. One of the big concerns for a lot of families is employment assistance. And we have employment assistance available worldwide. And what we do is we help to educate families on how they can transfer their certifications, if the certification transfer is necessary, if there's reciprocity, if there's a need for certain types of jobs for the area that they're moving to. They can help them target their job search a little bit more. We can help connect to the local job banks. Here in Florida, we work with Career Source. Other installations are going to call it something different. So we can help give you some of the local lingo. We can review resumes, and we can help you develop a professional portfolio. We have classes for those who need to brush up on some skills. and even interview skills and transition services. Whatever you need, we're able to help and make sure that you're getting the best information available for you. And as you can see off to the side, we have a lot of personal and work-life classes as well, because coming with moving goes a lot of stress as well. So we want to make sure that in addition to finding the resources, that if you're experiencing any unique stressors, that those are also addressed. Next, please. Military OneSource, they said it's a great resource. They have information about installations. It's really simple to use. When you are looking at possibly going to a new installation or you already have orders, you can go on there and review what is the community like. Maybe you're going to college and you're curious which classes or which schools may have classes in person. Maybe you're interested in employment. Maybe you're interested in school. All the information is there, and it's easily accessible for you. That way you're not having to go to different sites. I really love the Plan My Move tracker as well. It allows you to create a customized calendar for your installation that you're currently at, and then also to the installation where you're going to. It will give you phone numbers. It will tell you when you should be doing what, everything down to, you know, when should you be contacting your utility and internet service providers, to when should you be submitting your paperwork for reciprocity for maybe a professional license that you have. So you're able to customize it to your unique individual needs for you and your family. So if you haven't been out there yet, I really encourage you to check it out. Like I said, there's information on education, transportation, childcare, employment. If somebody PCSs to Eglin, childcare is something that they need to get on the waiting list as soon as they have their orders. And there's quite a few bases like that. So if those are interests for you, the Military OneSource is going to help to point those things out for you. Next slide. So with the relocation assistance program, I said it is a stressful time for many. So personal and work life is a very important topic that we can help support you with. Some bases have a loan locker, which is loaner pots and pans that will help to make sure that you're not having to accrue some additional expenses while you're waiting for your household goods. It also can possibly help with the pots and pans. It can help with air mattresses, a variety of things. Also, with a relocation assistance program, if you're having communication problems, if you're having maybe some parenting issues, maybe your teen didn't want to move, or your youngster is having a hard time adapting to their new schools, if you contact the Airman and family, we can help to point you in the right direction to get the support that you're needing. A lot of times we're that support entity, but sometimes it's one of our community partners or one of our base partners that is better going to be able to suit you. We've talked a lot about the EFMP process this morning, but EFMP has definitely some unique concerns at times when they're moving with getting new providers set up and making sure that their family acclimates well to the new community. So we do have the EFMP FS program that can help with that. If you have a family member who is Q-coded and is EFMP, I really do encourage you to reach out to the Gaining EFMP office prior to PCSing so they can help to provide you information, and you can start doing your research for whatever your unique individual need is. Next, please. So the Airmen and Family Division at AFPC has direct links to a ton of services. So I encourage you to like them on Facebook. There's YouTube videos, and we have a website there as well. All the information is literally at your fingertips. So if you are somebody who likes to research things on the computer, please absolutely do so. I love following the Facebook page. I find out a ton of information, and there's a lot of really great articles. I know a lot of key spouses like to do newsletters, and you can find some articles already written for you, so you don't have to start from square one. And the nice thing is you know that the information is going to be accurate because we review it continually to make sure that all the information there for you is up to date and up to speed. Think of the Airmen and Family Readiness Center as your Chamber of Commerce. If you do not know who on base can support you and help you, contact the Airmen and Family. And if we're not the entity, we are going to get you to the right place.
I think that's it. Thank you so much, Ms. Childs. We appreciate you for coming on and sharing all of those relocation resources with us. I saw in the chat that people were talking about what a great program the sponsorship was, how important it was. So thank you for sharing those tools and resources for us. We appreciate it.
Andrea, can I add one more thing? I'm sorry.
Very quickly. Yes, you can.
So the Airmen and Family Readiness Center does have community readiness consultants assigned to squadrons. So if you want individualized support, reach out to that person and they'll tell you who your person is. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you to all of our panelists. We certainly appreciate all the work that you're doing to make relocation a little bit easier for military families. So we appreciate what you do every day. So if everyone wants to break, if we could be back in 7 minutes at 8:27, we will return for our Key Spouse Best Practices panel. Thank you.